Beamy, 22, just graduated with a communications degree, loud with opinions, the kind of person friends said had main character energy. I grew up with the classic sitcom dad setup. The guy who came home in a grease-stained uniform, fell asleep with the TV buzzing, barely said 2 words at dinner. Mom always sighed about it, saying, if he'd studied harder, maybe he wouldn't be stuck in that job forever. I soaked that up without question. Friends backed it up too. Half their parents split, and the running story was always, men can't carry their weight, women end up doing everything. It felt like common knowledge, not even worth debating. Dad never argued, just kept folding his uniform at the end of the hall, boots heavy by the door like they'd been welded there. The house always smelled faintly like menthol rub. Once I asked why his hands were always grey even after scrubbing, and he said, concrete dust gets in the lines you can't wash. Sometimes he'd mumble quiet lines like, one day you'll see who really carried it. I'd roll my eyes, figured it was just his way of begging for credit he didn't deserve. That last semester of college felt chill. Me and my friends would grab iced lattes after lectures, talking about how our moms basically raised us alone. One girl's dad bailed during their divorce. Another always joked hers was just the guy who broke the lawnmower and never fixed it. I'd nod along, easy fit. My mom always said the same, your father could have done more for us if he wasn't stuck in that dead-end job. It felt like she was right, even if Dad's paycheck kept the lights on, because money isn't the same as actually being there. In my head, it was obvious. Mom carried the family, Dad just clocked in and took it easy. What made it worse was watching my other friends with their dads. One would brag about weekend hikes, another's dad always drove her back to campus with takeout and jokes. Even the ones with divorced parents still got texts and check-ins. Me? I just got the sound of boots by the door and the TV droning in the background. Jealousy sat heavy, and I turned it into anger. If he really cared, why couldn't he do the bare minimum like theirs did? My 22nd birthday rolled around that spring. The one thing I wouldn't shut up about that year was this $500 Dyson hairdryer. Every time we passed the ad, I'd point like a kid at a carnival, and he'd rub his neck and go, that's a lot, sweetheart. Let me get through this month first, which I translated as never. Mom set up a little dinner, just family and a couple friends. We lit candles, everyone waiting, one empty chair at the table. Halfway through, Dad called from work. Background noise like machines screaming, said some delivery was late, he couldn't leave until it was fixed. I forced a smile, told him whatever, then hung up, cold. Humiliation burned worse than the cake wax dripping. Later I snapped in the group chat, imagine missing your kid's birthday just to babysit some machine. That's my dad for you. They sent crying laughing emojis, and I laughed too, but part of me wanted to cry instead. A few weeks later, my car sputtered out before class, smoke curling from under the hood. I called him, already imagining some TV dad moment where he'd drop everything and rush over. Instead, his voice came through tired, but gentle. I can't leave the site right now, sweetheart. It's dangerous if I walk off. But listen, I'll send my buddy Rick to get you. He's 5 minutes away, and I'll fix the car myself this weekend. No charge. I got pissed instantly, heat rising in my chest. Forget it. I don't need one of your work friends driving me around like I'm a kid. He paused, soft, almost pleading. I just don't want you stranded. I cut him off, snapped, whatever, I'll handle it, and hung up. Later, venting to my friends, I rolled my eyes. See? Every other dad would just show up. Mine hides behind excuses and sends stand-ins. They nodded, easy agreement, and I felt vindicated, but deep down, his voice, that careful, worried tone, kept echoing longer than I wanted it to. After that, something hardened in me. Every little thing he did, or didn't do, stacked on the pile. Missed birthdays, late nights, now the car thing. It all felt like proof he'd never actually show up when it mattered. So when graduation buzz started building, I leaned into it loud, half out of pride, half to remind myself I didn't need him there anyway. I kept hyping it up with my friends like it was the finale of our whole lives so far. One night at dinner, Dad overheard, wiped his hands on his uniform, and said quiet, I'll be there, wouldn't miss it. I smirked into my plate. He'd missed enough already, figured this would just be another. So when graduation came, I already knew what to expect. Mom promised she'd be there in the front row, beaming. Dad? I didn't even picture him showing up. Figured he'd either be too tired or too busy. Same as always. Graduation day finally hit. The auditorium smelled like perfume and stale coffee. Rows of families fanning themselves with programs, caps slipping, tassels tangled, everyone buzzing like it was the Super Bowl of middle-class achievement. I scanned the crowd while lining up with my row, spotted Mom right away, dressed sharp, camera already in hand. The seat beside her? Empty. I smirked. Of course it was. My friends waved from across the aisle, pointing to their families packed together like holiday photos. One of them mouthed, "Where's your dad?" I just rolled my eyes, shrugged like it was nothing. "Classic," I whispered back. "Probably napping in front of the TV." They snickered, nudged each other. The joke landed easy. For a moment, I actually felt clever, like I'd confirmed the narrative we'd been trading for years. The ceremony dragged on, names echoing, applause thundering, parents crying in clusters. When my name finally got called, I walked the stage like I was floating, grabbed my degree, grinned for the camera. As I stepped down, I glanced back at the crowd, scanning the rows. Mom was on her feet, clapping, the chair beside her still cold and empty. I shook my head, put on this exaggerated sigh, like, "See? Told you." My chest buzzed with anger, the degree still warm in my hand. I slipped my phone from the gown pocket, thumbs flying before I thought twice. "Thanks for nothing. Biggest day of my life and you couldn't even bother to be here. I wish you weren't my dad." I hit send, the screen glowing back at me like proof. No reply, just the message hanging there like a stone in my gut. I shoved the phone away, forced a smirk, pretended it didn't matter. After the ceremony, everyone piled outside under the brutal sun, flowers and hugs flying everywhere. My friends crowded me with selfies, champagne spray in the background. I laughed, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "Yep, that's my dad for you. Didn't even bother showing up. Guy's been absent my whole life." They laughed with me. Some even clapped my shoulder like it was a badge of strength. Validation hit sweet and sharp, like I just won the debate once and for all. But that night, when the gowns were off and the house was quiet, Mom cornered me in the kitchen, her face stiff. "Don't you dare talk like that about your father," she snapped. I froze, taken off guard. She pulled a folded paper from her purse, smooth thin from being handled 100 times. It was a tuition receipt, the final semester, balance 0, the signature at the bottom, my dad's handwriting. Her voice trembled, but sharpened with every word. "You think that empty chair meant he didn't care?" He begged for weeks to get that day off. They said no, then offered him a double instead. He took it because tuition was due. "That's why you even got to walk that stage," I stared at the receipt, but Mom wasn't done. "You know why he never takes vacations? Why he works holidays? Because every hour he gave up was another bill off your back. While you were out there mocking him with your friends, he was watching the live stream on his lunch break, sitting on a milk crate in the corner, grease still on his hands." The air felt crushed out of the room, but she twisted the knife. "And after all that, you sent him that text?" "I wish you weren't my dad." He read it at work. Didn't say a word, just stared at his vest like the ground might open up. The paper trembled in my hands. I laughed it off, shaky, defensive. So what? He still chose work over me. What kind of father does that? Mom's voice softened for the first time that night, but the words cut deeper. "He doesn't tell you because he doesn't want you to worry. But his back's been shot for years. He gets dizzy sometimes on those 12-hour shifts. Last month, I caught him icing his knees in the garage so you wouldn't see." She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "And still, he goes back in. Because you needed tuition, because you needed braces, because you needed every little thing we couldn't afford otherwise." I swallowed hard, throat tight. Part of me wanted to scream back, to argue like always, but the other part just burned, like her words were sitting in my chest where oxygen should be. "Fine," I finally muttered, defensive even now. "I'll talk to him in the morning." I told myself it'd be easy, but inside I was panicking, because what was I supposed to say? "Sorry, Dad." I'd spent my whole life telling my friends men don't deserve apologies, that they're the ones who should always do better. The thought of swallowing my pride, of admitting I was wrong, it felt impossible, but heavier still was the thought of leaving it unsaid. I didn't sleep that night, tossing under the buzzing silence of my phone. No reply to the text, not even a dot, just emptiness. Morning came, light leaking through the blinds too early. I dragged myself out, heart thumping, rehearsing lines I hated in my head. But when I stepped into the hallway, his boots were gone, so was his thermos, his lunchbox, his jacket. The house feels hollow without him. He's already left for another double, hours before dawn. I slump against the wall, hands shaking, and Mom calls from the kitchen. He packed up quiet. Didn't even eat breakfast. But he grabbed your picture from the fridge, the one of you in the little cap and gown from kindergarten. He's kept it all these years, folded it up, and slipped it in his lunchbox like it was armor. My stomach twists, but I force myself to straighten up, tell myself it doesn't matter, that he chose work, like always. If he really cared, he'd have stayed, right? I grip my phone hard, the text still sitting there, half of me waiting for him to fire back, the other half terrified he never will. A few days later, I finally crack. The silence is eating me alive, so I spill to my friends over coffee, trying to sound casual. Maybe I was too hard on him. Mom says he begged for my tuition shifts, that he watches graduations on live streams during breaks. The words taste weird, heavy, not like me at all. Sophia crosses her arms, scoffs instantly. Classic. They all have excuses. My dad used to say the same. I work for you, but that's just what they hide behind. Jenna leans forward fast, nodding hard. Yeah, men always make it about sacrifice. Meanwhile, we're the ones actually carrying families. Kara smirks, stirring her iced latte like she's stirring the knife. Don't fall for that sob story. Next thing you'll be crying over every deadbeat dad on Facebook? The table chuckles, and the heat of their approval almost pulls me back in. They pile on, and for a second I feel the old warmth of their agreement, but something in me hesitates now, like their voices don't land the way they used to. Then Matt, quiet most of the time, finally speaks, voice calm but sharp. Wait. You said he works construction, right? I shrug, roll my eyes. Yeah, so what? He still missed everything that mattered. Matt leans across the table, steady. Do you know what 12-hour shifts in that job do to a body? Steel-toe boots, rebar, concrete dust. He's probably killing himself slow just to keep those checks coming. You think that's easy? You think he's coasting? I shoot back fast. Yeah, but he's still... And the words collapse halfway out, hanging there limp, sounding hollow even to me. Before I can reload, Jordan cuts in, voice lower, heavier. Go see it for yourself. You talk about him like he's lazy, like he checked out. But I bet if you watched one day of what he actually does, you wouldn't last an hour. Ryan shakes his head, adding quieter but sharper. Our dads don't say I love you in selfies. They say it with mortgages paid and cars fixed. You just don't speak the same language. The table goes still, their words sitting heavier than my latte cup. Sophia mutters under her breath, rolling her eyes. Men defending men? Shocking. But something in me twists, because the guys didn't even sound angry, just certain. Then Ryan leans back, almost like he regrets saying it, but his voice doesn't waver. My dad worked doubles too, until his heart gave out at 49. I used to hate him for missing birthdays. Now I'd give anything just to have him miss another one. The words hang there heavier than all the rest, and for once, nobody has a comeback. That night, I take their dare. I drive out past the strip malls, down into the industrial lot Mom once mentioned. The place looks like another world. Floodlights glaring down on clouds of dust, machines grinding like thunder, orange vests flickering in and out of the haze, voices carried on the metal-on-metal clatter. And there he is, my dad. Hunched but solid, shoulders broad even though they sag under the weight. He moves slower than the younger guys, but every motion is sure. Hefts a beam like it's routine, sweat darkening his shirt until it clings to him. Pauses only to stretch his back, hand pressed against it like he's fighting a cramp, then goes right back in. No hesitation. I grip the chain link fence, breath stuck in my throat. The younger workers joke between themselves, light and quick, but no one jokes at him. They glance at him with this mix of respect and pity, like they know he's the one grinding harder than all of them. One jogs past and calls out, "Man, your old man never stops, huh? Heard he's pulling doubles all month for his kids' tuition." My stomach twists so hard I think I might puke. They're talking about him. My dad. Like it's common knowledge, like everyone here already knows he's the one keeping it together. I press my forehead to the fence, metal biting my skin. Part of me wants to scream, to shove through and demand, why? Why didn't you just come home instead? Another part wants to believe this is all some performance, some fake show for sympathy, but the way his body moves, strained, tired, but unyielding, there's no act in it. I tell myself I'm just angry, that he chose steel beams and overtime over birthdays and graduations, that he could have done more, been more. But the words feel weaker now, dissolving in the dust around me. I stay frozen there, hidden in the shadows, not calling out, not moving. Because if I step closer, if I see his face, I might not be able to keep pretending I'm right. I drive home in silence, radio off, hands tight on the wheel. My phone buzzes with messages from friends about grad party plans I don't answer. Their words feel fake now, shallow, like none of them have a clue what I just saw. The house is dark when I pull in. Mom's asleep, kitchen light off, only the hum of the fridge filling the air. I toe off my shoes, creep down the hall, then I see them. His helmet, kicked off by the door, crusted with dirt and steel dust. Not just heavy, but beaten down, top nearly split. I crouch there, fingers brushing the leather, realize this helmet carried every bill, every meal, every semester of my degree. I mean, it's his job to do this anyway, so I don't know why I'm even praising him for it. But still, it's something, I guess. I drag myself into my room, but stop cold. On the desk, propped against my framed degree, there's a bag from the salon store. Inside, the $500 Dyson hairdryer I'd begged for months ago, price tag still dangling like it hurt him to buy it. Next to it, a folded note in his blocky handwriting, proud of you. Always was. Always will be. My throat tightens, but my brain fires back, a hairdryer doesn't make up for years of being absent. My friends get real dads who show up. I just get gifts and excuses. I lie back on the bed, but his image at the work site won't leave me. The way his knees buckled under the pipe, the way he straightened anyway, the way every man there knew he was carrying it for someone else, for me, and I told him I wished he wasn't my dad. I unlock my phone, open the text thread, my words glow back at me like poison. Thanks for nothing. Biggest day of my life, and you couldn't even bother to be here. I wish you weren't my dad. No reply. Just the delivered check mark, cold and final. I type a new message. Dad, but my thumb hovers, frozen. What do I even say? Sorry? I didn't know. None of it feels big enough to cover what I did. I set the phone down, bury my face in my hands. For the first time, the silence in the house doesn't feel like emptiness. It feels like weight, like all the words he never said were bricks he carried so I didn't have to, and now I've stacked one more on his back with that text. I stare at the hairdryer, the note, the helmet by the door, and mutter to myself, whatever. My friends probably have better dads anyway, but mine's fine, I guess. Could be worse. I fall asleep still sitting up, lights on, degree propped on the desk. But in my dream, it's not the degree I see. It's him at the work site, bent over steel, knees shaking, carrying everything anyway.